Hello folks, it's Graham Walker here coming to you live from Worsbrough Park here in Barnsley, and I've got Geoff Carr with me, and we're here for something very special. Now, I didn't know if this was the latest live stream I've ever done or the earliest I've ever done, but here we are, it's 5:30, we're here for the dawn chorus, and rather than blab on and on, I think what we want to do is we want you to hear some of this fantastic bird noise that we're hearing down here at Worsbrough Mill and Country Park. Just before I start, Geoff, what we're going to listen to, what we're going to hear this morning?
Yeah, there's quite a few birds picked up already, as you know, but when we're setting up. So we've got blackbird, songthrush, robin, dunnock, wren, probably quite immediate. There's one or two a little bit more distance, which we should be able to pick up on the mic. So if we're going to run through a quiet bit,
we'll go through a quiet bit and let people just have a listen.
And then I'll explain what's happening.
We've got a few we've got a few cameras and with some microphones around here, so hopefully you'll get. This has been going on since about 5 o'clock this morning as well, hasn't it? So it's just got light. So I'm going to go quiet now, and we'll just have a listen, and hope you enjoy this, folks.
Fly past. And the geese.
Well, I must admit, Geoff, this is spectacular, isn't it? I mean, you know, we've been deprived of music and concerts for the best part of over a year now, and I must admit, I think this is the best concert I've heard for a decade. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah,
You're used to doing this. You come here and you do this a lot.
I do, yeah. I do surveys as well for RSPB and Natural England, so I'm an ecologist, so it's part of my profession.
Just tell me, Geoff, a little bit about dawn chorus, actually what it is, and how it comes to, how the morning comes to life, and the pecking order, literally, of things.
Yeah, that's right. It starts fairly early in the year, really. You start with kind of blackbird and songthrush, which you can start singing in February if it's good weather. But what triggers it off is daylight. As soon as daylight's extending and during the day, it triggers off hormones for birds to start breeding. So birds that we can hear around us now are advertising, I want to mate, those that's arrived, you know, it's kind of setting up. But other birds, it's already, I've got a territory, I've got a female, keep away, this is my patch. So there's this challenge all the time. And sometimes, which we might see, there's a bit of a skirmish between like a couple of robins and say, get back on your part. But generally it's a song, first thing on the morning to proclaim, this is my bit. And this happens at dusk slightly, but nowhere as good as dawn. And it's telling other same species that this is my kind of area.
So obviously this is International Dawn Chorus Day, May 2nd, 2021. But the birds don't know that, so they're at this every morning, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
So what? Let me just say, what's so special about today? Is it just that is today where it comes louder than ever, or what's special about this?
Well, it's just because we've named it International Dawn Chorus Day.
Okay.
We've done dawn choruses in the past, and we've had them as late as like kind of 15th of May. And it's pretty good then. After that, it starts to tail off a bit because they're already breeding. They've got eggs or even chicks by then. So they've all got well set up, so they're okay then. So if we're doing a graph, you've got a build-up of birds coming in, build up, songthrush, blackbirds, things like this. And it goes right through to probably June. They've bred, they've had 2 broods or whatever, different species, depends. and then they go into a molt, they go quiet, they're all subdued, they're miserable because they're molting, and so that's it. So your peak time is probably what we've got now, early May.
And in terms of the birds, do we actually get the birds coming in at different times of the morning, or can you explain how it works?
You do, yeah. Probably when we first arrived or before, when I was driving here this morning, you were probably the same. You've got kind of a wall of blackbirds and song thrushes through suburbia as you were coming through. They kick off before it's even light, first ones. So you'd have blackbird, song thrush, robin, maybe a wren, and they get belting out. And they really kind of block out a lot of the other stuff that's happening. The others are just starting to come in. And what we're getting now is more of a mix, because when we set up here, we'd end up probably a lot of blackbirds singing. They've quietened off now, there's not quite as many. And so there's other species kicking in.
Well, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask you to point out what we're actually listening to, Geoff. But
Okay.
before I do that, I just want to remind everybody that we're actually down here at Worsbrough Mill and Country Park for something very special, because it's not just International Dawn Chorus Day, but it's also launching Wild at Worsbrough, which is going to be a series of a programme of fantastic outdoor events. There's going to be so much happening between now and December, starting with this today. I know that next Sunday it's actually International Milling Day, so we've got a virtual tour that we've been putting together. We're going to show you that next Sunday. But today, obviously, it's about the birds, Geoff. And so we've got some other very special guests I need to mention as well who are going to be coming in. In fact, we've got Ian McMillan, the Bard of Barnsley, the poet in lockdown, no more. And he's going to be on his morning stroll with a fantastic poem he's got for us. And we've also got Liane and Sally from Discover Dearne, who are going to be telling us more about the fantastic opportunities you've got of engaging with wildlife down here at Worsbrough and in Barnsley. And we've also been speaking to the miller down at the Worsbrough Mill, and to John Tanner, who's going to tell us all about the history of it as well. And we've got some great photographs that we were asking people to send them in on social media, and we've had a fantastic response, Geoff, so we're going to be showing some of them as well. But before we go any further, let's enjoy this dawn chorus, and let's have a listen, and you tell us what we're listening to. Yeah, and I think we've got some pictures of some of the birds.
Yeah, okay. Actually, you picked that up. That's grey lag goose that's flying about somewhere. There again. But here further down we've got a blackcap singing, which is a migrant. So they're a summer visitor, and they're in from Spain or North Africa. So they're probably travel over a series of days, kind of get here fairly quick. So stopovers from North Africa will be in Spain, maybe a couple of stops in Spain, one in France, and in good weather they'll come in and they're here. That's the blackcap, that scratchy song. We've got a wren, churring wren, back here. And another blackcap. That's the wren again. Churring, Canada goose calling out on the marsh. Song thrush, that one. Song thrush is repeating. That one. That's song thrush calling. That. Diddy, diddy, diddy. Wren again, churring. Song thrush rounding out a few things. There's a tink, 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 and if you can pick that up, that's great tip. Blackbird a little more distant. Blackbirds are quietened off a little bit now. They're really deafening when we set out, isn't it? They're all over the place.
This is amazing though, Geoff. This is like, you know, I listen to Radio 1 on my cat, well it's more like Radio 4 these days. But I know, I recognise all the pop tunes, the pop hits, and you're recognising all the birds just like it's just normal sound to you. This is, well, it is to us all, but we blank it out, we don't realise what... If people want to find out more, how can they? I mean, it could take a lifetime to do, but there are apps and things that you can actually get to help you now, isn't there, with this kind of thing?
Yeah, you can download apps for free. RSPB does some, and it's just garden birds or more common birds, probably what we're getting now this morning. But I've got an app here which is 15 quid, and it's all the birds of Europe. So it's all songs, all calls, quite complicated. And there's some bits I'm kind of rusty on as well. And
Oh,
I've
I wouldn't
travelled
say
all
you're
over
rusty.
Europe.
You're doing a fine job. Thank you ever so much.
Sure,
Well, I hope
sure.
you're enjoying this, folks. I hope you're enjoying these fantastic sounds that we're listening to. We've just got a little bit of video with Liane from Discover Dearne, who we were speaking to earlier, telling us about not just the birds, but the other fantastic wildlife that's down here. So there's a little bit of video. I think we'll run that first, and then after that, then I'm hoping that we're going to catch up with Ian McMillan, who'll be walking all the way from Darfield to Worsbrough on one of his very famous morning strolls, and he's got a fantastic poem about dawn chorus. But first of all, here's Liane to tell us about Wild at Worsbrough.
Hello, I'm Liane and I manage Discover Dearne, which is part of the Barnsley Museum service, but we're the people that look after some of the green spaces across Barnsley, and we look after the Worsbrough Country Park. It's an amazing place. It is so teeming with wildlife. It's a day like this, a spring day like this, it feels alive with possibility and alive with creatures all around you. I mean, I'm stood here and I can just hear the birds singing and calling to each other, whether that's the like staccato call of a wren or just the beautiful trilling sound of a robin. It's absolutely amazing. In the middle of the country park is a wet woodland, and it's full of willow, or crack willow as we know it, called crack willow because it cracks open, and because of that the soft inside of the trunk is really, really attractive to an elusive bird called the willow tit, and it buries and makes its nest in there. And unlike other birds, it makes a new nest every year. And the willow tit are really, really endangered, and this country park, the wet woodland in this country park, is nationally significant for this small bird. And it's significant not just because of what it is, but it's part of a whole corridor of wet woodland across the Dearne Valley. So this park is part of a Back from the Brink project that's looking at restoring habitat for the willow tit, and that's what we're doing here. And you'll see some of that work releasing, opening up that wet woodland for them. I was just distracted by a great tit. I mean, how amazing is that? One of the tit families. It's slightly bigger than the blue tit. The blue tit's the one with the little punky hairstyle, but a great tit is just its bigger cousin, really. Absolutely amazing. The wet woodland is also really important for a mouse, and it's a harvest mouse. And they are, I can't even tell you how incredible they are. They have a prehensile tail, which means they can wrap it round a stem, and they do this while making their little nest that's like a lovely sort of tennis ball kind of nest. And every year here, and if you're looking to volunteer, we do a harvest mouse nest count, and we see how many of these little tennis balls we can find. So they're here. You'll not see them. I wish you could. You might do, but they're really, really, really quiet and elusive, but they're amazing. But that's not all that's here. So if you go out on the reservoir, we've got geese, we've got grebe. Now, I don't know if you know this, but the grebe is kind of one of the birds that started the RSPB, because back in 1891 there's a Society of Ladies in Manchester, and they all had lovely hats, and these lovely hats had what was called grebe fur on it, and grebe fur is basically the feathers of a grebe. And the ladies didn't like this and thought that was very wrong. And they were some of the first animal rights activists, and they formed the RSPB because of the grebe fur, and they banned the use of feathers, grebe feathers, in hats. Well, we've got grebe here, and they're amazing. And if you come at spring, when they've got their babies are like little mint humbugs. They're the cutest things ever. You'd love that. Anyway, as Discover Dearne, we're working to restore some of the habitats here at the country park, and we're funded by the National Lottery Heritage Fund to do that. What we've also found out with the people that are working here is the grasslands around here, they're massively significant. They have some species on here that are practically dying out in other places. Like with the field we're stood next to now, it's called the pignut field. I mean, pignut, what an amazing name is that? And that's because if you dig up this quite unassuming plant, the corms underneath, we think were fed to pigs. Pignut tastes a bit like hazelnuts. We've got quaking grass. I mean, it does what it says on the tin. It quakes, it's grass, it's lovely. We have ladies' bedstraw. We think it was used as bedstraw for ladies. I mean, isn't nature brilliant? You have these things. A willow tit is a tit that lives in a willow. Bed straw was made beds. We've planted an orchard here. We've done that recently. It's a small orchard. It's native, South Yorkshire native fruits, and that's just going to be amazing when it comes. And when we start getting fruit off there, I'm hoping, don't know if it's true, I'm hoping we'll make pies with the fruit, with the flour here. How good's that? It's just, I mean, just come here. Just come and listen and sit and be mindful, be respectful, be calm, be present, be in nature, and listen. Listen to the reeds, listen to the birds, listen to the wind. We can hear the wind now. It's just an amazing place, and you need to come and visit it.
Well, folks, I hope you really enjoyed that. That was a little interview that we did earlier with Liane from Discover Dearne. She's actually here today as well. She pre-recorded, but she was so excited about it, she's come down. So we're going to speak to her live a little bit later. But first, before we do that, I've got to introduce next. He's Mr. Barnsley, isn't he? We've got Ian McMillan, the Bard of Barnsley, poet in lockdown. He's got his famous morning stroll and a beautiful poem about a dawn chorus. So over to Ian.
Morning, Graham.
Morning, Ian. Fancy bumping into you here.
What a long way from Darfield. I actually set off at 2 in the morning to get here. So it's quite a while.
You're
I
just
did
on
stop
time.
on the way. I'm just on time, always on time. In the grey, it's fantastic. Every morning when I do my stroll, I hear the dawn chorus. And I was amazed that Geoff knows the name of every bird. No, Geoff knows them all.
He does. It's amazing. It's like I said. It's like when I put the radio on, I listen to pop tunes.
Yeah.
I know the artist. He knows what every bird is that's on there. It's just incredible, Ian.
And I'm kind of envious of that, but also I like the fact that I don't know what they are. They're a kind of mystery to me. I don't quite know what they stand. I don't know what they sound like, but somehow the naming of them, to me, takes away the mystery. So you can know what they are, but in the end, maybe it don't matter if you don't.
But it's to actually be out here and to to get up super early as we did. Beautiful, isn't it?
Oh, it's fantastic. It is. I mean, I'm always up early, but this was early even for me when I got up at 3:30. And I think the morning time is the best time of the day because nothing's gone wrong yet. Nothing's happened yet.
Not
You know,
yet.
it's not yet, and it's just such a
We are
beautiful
live,
time.
Ian. We are
Well,
live.
we are live, but I mean, it's just a great time of day to be out and about. A guy just walked past, walking his dog, full of joys of spring, and you think this is a great time to be out. I wish more people would get out and about at this time because it really is my favourite time of day. The trouble is, of course, you have the opposite effect towards the end of the day. So this afternoon at about 4 o'clock, I shall enter the afternoon slump where I fall asleep and the only chorus you'll hear is the gentle sound of my snoring.
Fantastic. Well, listen, what we are going to hear now, and I've already heard this is absolutely beautiful. It's a special poem you've written, and it's for the time as well. It's for the times that we're in.
I imagined a nurse called Dawn who worked for NHS, and her car's broke down, so she had to get a taxi back from hospital. And it's just about the fact that for me the dawn chorus is about survival and renewal and the fact that we are starting to come out of this long tunnel we've been in. So it's called This is the Dawn Singing. It begins in silence and darkness. That's all, just silence and darkness. And maybe the sound of a taxi taking Dawn home from her night shift at the hospital. Then, in the silence and darkness, breaking the silence and darkness, the sound of a bird. One note, like a creaking pub sign. Another bird, one note, like a distant doorbell. And the taxi slows down at the traffic lights and Dawn opens the window to take in the air and the bird song. Dawn breaks through the silence and darkness. Song breaks through half silence and half light. A bird with notes like warm liquid. A bird with a tune from a bright beak. A bird plays the feathered piano of itself. A bird rings an old-style mobile phone. A bird speaks in a broad Barnsley accent. A bird dawns lines of music in the chilly air. And Dawn gets out of the taxi as the sun rises like a promise. And before she unlocks the door of her house, she hears the dawn chorus, unlocking the morning. Dawn chorus, dawn verses, dawn song never ending, a raising of voices as the sun rises. And then Dawn starts singing. Well, she's always liked singing, and her favourite song is I Will Survive. so she sings it quietly, as all around her the dawn chorus gets louder. And after all, what is the dawn chorus but a song of survival, a song of revival, from darkness to morning, a song that reminds us that light will return, no matter how dark the darkness. Now listen, here's the dawn chorus, and here's the light breaking.
Oh, just absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
Absolutely superb. And to actually hear that, here in this environment with all the birds sounds as well, it was just beautiful, just beautiful.
I better get back to Darfield because I just realised I left the kettle on.
I'll see you later.
See you later.
Well, there you go. What can I say? Ian McMillan, superstar, and giving his morning up as well, turning out at crack of dawn, literally, to come and recite his latest poem for us. How wonderful that was. I think we've had maybe some of Ian's social media on that as well. Please follow him on Twitter. You'll not be disappointed. Let me reassure you of that. Before we do anything else, we put a call out for readers to send in their pictures of wildlife that have been taken up Barnsley or wherever they are, and we've got a little slideshow, some video here that we'd like to play that shows these photographs. So there's a couple of minutes for you. Well, how beautiful those photographs were, and you know, if anybody else wants to contribute, please keep sending them in. I know that Barnsley Museums, who run this fantastic facility, are really keen to get your pictures, videos, anything you've got on wildlife. Please keep sending it in, and use the hashtag Wild At Worsbrough, and also use Dawn Chorus Day as well, hashtag today as well. That's a great thing to do. Now, we're going to be speaking to Sally and Liane from Discover Dearne. They're going to be telling us a little bit more about Wild At Worsbrough. But before I do that, I just want to show you where we are today, which is down at Worsbrough, next to Worsbrough Mill. And we were speaking to the miller, Simon Dodd, down there. He was telling us all about the mill and the fantastic facility he's got. And on the back of that as well, we were speaking to John Tanner, who is from Barnsley Museum's project manager, and he'll tell us all about the great history of it. So we're going to show you a little clip about all that, and just remind you that next Sunday is International Milling Day, so we're going to be back down here for a virtual tour around the mill as well. But if you've not been down to Worsbrough Mill, well, this is going to tell you all about it. So here's some video.
Hello, welcome to Worsbrough Mill. My name's Simon Dodd and I'm the miller here. I've been here for just over 2 years and I love my job. So what do we do here? Well, we produce organic stone ground flour. That means our wheat or our grain comes from organic sources, so that's less pesticides and no artificial fertilisers. And we produce flour for the public, but also for trade customers too. The question is, how do we do that? So, behind me is our stone floor. That's the upper part of the mill, and that has on it the millstones. Each set of millstones has 2 millstones. The bottom one is called the bedstone and the top one is called the runner stone. The top one doesn't move, just like when you're in bed, and the top one goes round and round and round. We make that one go round and round by driving it by a water wheel. The water wheel at Worsbrough here is 150 years old. It's cast iron and it weighs in the region of 4 tonnes. In order to mill, we have to use 105 tonnes of water per hour to drive our millstones at the right sort of speeds. Once we're up there and we've got the mill running, grain is gradually fed into the stones through a hopper and down what's called a shoe, and it goes into the middle of the top stone, which is like a big hole, and we call that the eye of the stones. The grain is then, by a process of being milled, it moves out of the stones towards the outer edge of the bedstone, where it just falls off, and we have a little paddle that comes round, attached to the runner stone, comes round and pushes the flour around and then down a hole in the floor. This technology is thousands of years old, and we do basically the same things being done on this site since 1625. That flour is collected downstairs and we then use it for a variety of purposes. Now, what you might not know is that off a traditional mill like Worsbrough, you only get wholemeal flour. Wholemeal flour is the whole grain milled, so it has nothing taken out. Now, most of the flour that we sell at Worsbrough is white flour, and in order to get white flour, we have to take our wholemeal flour and we have to sieve it using a traditional sieve in order to take out the bran, which is the outer part of the wheat grain, and the semolina, which is a small, harder, brownish particle, bigger than the flour particle, which is why we can use our sieve. For every 100 kilos of wholemeal flour that we put in, we get about 70 kilos of white flour. So that's one of the things we do with our wholemeal flour. Now, in order to do that, as I say, we have to put it through the sieve. So that means taking the wholemeal flour from the bottom of the mill up to the top of the mill and putting it back down through the sieve. Another thing we do with our wholemeal flour is we sell it. We sell it as wholemeal flour. So that's available from the shop here, from other places around, and we actually sell that to bakeries for them to use. But the last thing really we do with it is we produce blends of flours. So we sell a malted flour, which is a blend of our wholemeal, our white, with some rye that we mill on site, and some malted wheat flakes. And we also produce a kind of nearly 100% wholemeal self-raising flour. We have the bran taken out of it, so we call it 85% wholemeal self-raising, and it makes a really, really nice Victoria sponge. That's also available from our shop. So when I started at Worsbrough, as I say, just over 2 years ago, we were milling around about 12 tonnes of grain a year. In my first full year, we doubled that. We milled just over 24.5 tonnes of grain. This year, since April 2020, we have milled in excess of 55 tonnes of grain. Now, the vast majority of our flour has gone to trade customers. We've kept bakeries as far afield as London and Glasgow in flour throughout the period of COVID. We've sold a lot more to retail customers, and we've had to develop an online sales in order to sell some of our product too. The hope is that in future years we'll be milling between 40 and 50 tonnes on a regular basis. Now, the COVID pandemic has made a difference to our sales and certainly to the demand for traditionally milled flour. Some mills that I know of have had a 500% increase in sales and in demand for their flour. Others have had 7-week waiting list for their flour. So traditional mills have come into their own at a time when flour was initially in very short supply. The next stage for Worsbrough Mill is its own little bakery. So on site we've developed a small space as a bakery, and bread will be available, we hope, from the end of May on site through our gift shop at Worsbrough. We're not sure if we're going to be able to produce enough to sell that beyond here, but we are certainly hoping that our bread will prove popular, and then other people might think, oh, maybe I'll give a go at baking my own bread using Worsbrough Mill flour. Because we're only looking at having a small bakery on site, we probably won't produce that many loaves per day. And also because of the way that we want to operate, we'll only be actually be baking 3 days a week. So we reckon that somewhere in the region of 100 loaves a week will be available through our shop. You can use our flour for anything. We've had people making Yorkshire puddings from our flour, making pastry from our flour, all sorts of things. Basically anything you can bake, you can use Worsbrough Mill flour for. The on-site cafe, the Miller's Tea Rooms, does sell some products made using our flour. Brownies, for definite. Their Easter egg brownie was delicious. And their pizza dough definitely uses our white flour. And Adam, who's the person who runs the Miller Tea Rooms, says it has a very distinct flavour that he can't get anywhere else. And now part of that comes down to, for the pizza, the way that Adam makes it, but because our grain is all UK grown, so we have nothing that comes from outside the UK, we know the farms that our grain comes from. So we have a line of, I suppose, provenance that we know where our grain comes from. We treat our grain quite gently. So although it gets milled between stones weighing about 1 1/4 tonnes, it's actually quite a gentle process. And the flour that we get off, partly because of the process, partly because of the way the stones are cut, that's what gives it its distinctive texture and flavour. But I think primarily it's because we use UK-grown organic wheat. So we at Worsbrough, we're members of the Traditional Corn Millers Guild, which is a UK-based a sort of informal trade organisation for the traditional milling world. We have watermills as members and we have windmills as members. Now, the membership isn't very big, so we're one of about 35 members. There are more mills in the country, but they're just not members, or that they may not be producing flour for commercial purposes. We reckon there's somewhere between 100 and 120 wind and water mills in the UK. And there are some as far afield as Orkney. There's a gorgeous little mill on Orkney, and they mill a particular grain. And right the way down to the south coast and down to the southwest. I would say wind and water mills are probably 50-50 within the guild. So you could say we're one of maybe 15 or 17 traditional working, commercially producing water mills in the UK. The Worsbrough Mill isn't just a working mill, it's a heritage site. As I said, there's been a mill on this site since 1625, so for nearly 400 years, people have been milling flour in Worsbrough. Now, being a heritage site means we are more than happy to welcome visitors to come down, to see us at work, to see the mill working, to ask us questions, to find out about what is actually a traditional craft and skill that we need to keep going in this country. It's actually, milling is one of UNESCO's world sort of protected or recognised crafts. And the big centre of milling is Holland, with all its wind. But yes, it's actually an internationally recognised sort of protected or supported skill. So come down, find out what's going on, look around, ask us questions. We'd be more than happy to welcome you anytime.
So this is Worsbrough Mill, and there's been a mill here in Worsbrough since before the days of the Doomsday Books, almost 1,000 years. Now we don't know if that mill that was here 1,000 years ago was on this site. It might have been, we don't know. But what we do know is this incredible mill that's behind me. This has been here since 1625. So Worsbrough Mill is coming up to its 400th anniversary very shortly, which is absolutely amazing. Obviously, when this place was built, even before the English Civil War, Worsbrough was a very different place. It was a very small, quiet village and what have you. And this place has been making flour here in Worsbrough ever since. But of course, times changed, and Worsbrough became a flourishing industrial village during the course of the 19th century. There were ironworks here, there were collieries, there were glassworks, there was all kinds of industry here, and people flocked here to Worsbrough to live, to work, and they were hungry. They needed flour as well. So what you see during the course of the 19th century, during that great industrial revolution, is that mill gets bigger. The mill grows, there's a new mill grow on the side, big steam engines put inside, in addition to our incredible millstones and water power to make flour, to make bread for that new industrial workforce of Worsbrough here in South Barnsley. So the mill has worked ever since. It's never stopped for those 400 years, But obviously times did change. Big steam mills in places like Barnsley and Doncaster Rotherham took over from small places like this. And to be honest, during the course of the 20th century, this place became quite run down. It was a bit of a wreck. The millstones were broken. There was a big hole in the roof. But then the 1970s saw a bright new start to Worsbrough Mill, and there was an incredible effort by local people. It was the days of the South Yorkshire County Council transformed Worsbrough Mill. In the 1970s, Worsbrough Mill was opened up as a new visitor destination for South Yorkshire. And this place has been it's been a real source of pride for local people ever since that time, and for people coming here to South Yorkshire to visit too. And we're incredibly proud here at the mill to be continuing those traditions, 1,000 years worth of milling, and to make sure that this place can continue to be a much loved place for local people to enjoy, to come to, and to call their own right into the future as well. Worsbrough Mill, it's a wonderful place to come for a trip out. We've got this incredible historic mill in all its history. But remember, it's a working mill as well. The millers here make flour that's sent out all across the north. So you can pop in, you can chat to our millers, you can see the water wheels splashing, you can see the millstones turning. And of course, you can pop into our shop as well and get some flour to take home with you. But it's more than just a mill. We've got the big, beautiful reservoir in Country Park, packed with birds, with wildlife. The views up there are absolutely astonishing. It's a beautiful place just to stroll, to take in the views, take in the sunsets. It really is a remarkable place. We've got a fantastic miller's tea room as well, serving all kinds of home-cooked food made right here in Worsbrough with Worsbrough Mill flour, and we've got a fantastic playground for the kids as well. And of course, activities and events all through the year, and trails and stuff for families to do. During the course of the lockdown, we've been doing some really important works here, thanks to the support of the government's Culture Recovery Fund. So we've been creating new spaces here at the mill so people can have a fantastic experience when they visit, but also they can feel safe and socially distanced too. So we've got a fantastic new shop which can have a one-way system and people can socially distance inside, where people can buy our flour. We've got new spaces for our volunteers and for our staff where they can relax and socially distance when they're not hard at work. We've got a new gallery as well, so when we're not doing our tours, people have got somewhere they can pop to just to see what the mill is all about and its incredible history. And now we've got some proper important kind of grade 2 style listed mill machinery here at the mill as well, and we've made a huge amount of flour, tens of thousands of tons since the start of the lockdown last year. So we've had people in doing emergency repairs, keeping a close look at that machinery to make sure that it can keep on grinding for local people and for our mill customers across the north into the future as well. So it's been an incredibly important time, and there's lots of changes that people are going to be able to see when they visit over coming months. So all in all, Worsbrough Mill is a fantastic trip out right here in Worsbrough, South Barnsley, and just a mile or two off junction 36 off the M1.
Well, there we had Simon the miller and John Tanner obviously telling us all about the fantastic Worsbrough Mill. And just to remind you that next Sunday is International Milling Day, and we've done a virtual tour down there, and it's absolutely amazing. So if you've never been, or if you just want to relive what it's like to actually go around that, we'll be telling you a lot more about it next week. So watch out on social media, we'll give you all the heads up. Now, I'm here with Sally Elkington from Discover Dearne, and Sally, how special has this been this morning?
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, I spend a lot of time on site anyway working on our project, but you know, to be here at this time and actually hear the Dawn Chorus live as we have been, it's been wonderful, really, a real treat.
It has, hasn't it? And it's been absolutely fantastic to bring you this as well, folks. I'm sorry we had a couple of little glitches a little earlier, but you know what? I think just the two videos you've just seen shows you how challenging this is, where we're streaming from in the middle of a park, which is just, you know, it's not a city, is it? And we're really out of the green, aren't we?
We are, and you know, it's a fantastic park here. We've got so many fabulous habitats, and we're obviously stood you know, in the middle of the wet woodland, the willow carr that we've got here, which is a fantastic habitat for birds, which has obviously enabled us to hear this wonderful Dawn Chorus even better.
And we're going to polish up. We're going to bring Geoff Carr, who's the bird expert and the conservationist. He's going to come in and he's going to tell us a little bit more about what we've been listening to this morning. But before we do that, I want to talk about Wild at Worsbrough. I want you can tell people a little bit more about what's happening, because this today is like kickstarts a programme, doesn't it, Sally? And can you tell us about that and the funding of it?
Definitely. So we've been really lucky to have some National Lottery Heritage funding, which has enabled us to be working on a project here at Worsbrough for the last 18 months or so. It's sort of rounding up towards the end of the summer, but linked to that, we're creating a series of events and content which is going to go out for the rest of the year, like we said, launching from today. So we're going to be showcasing all the different work we've been doing on site. So that's linking with different habitats, obviously different wildlife here. There'll be events to get involved in. Some of those will be online, hopefully some on site as well. But loads of different activities, just celebrating what we've got here right on site at this country park.
And you know what, we've got to keep giving the message about social distancing and everything. We're trying to keep our 2 metres here, but it's possible, isn't it, to do more of this now, and remember that a lot of this is outdoors.
It is, absolutely, and it's a fantastic outdoor space to visit. We've got wonderful walks around the site, and again, with part of our project and funding, we're going to be doing works to hopefully take care of some of the paths, which have obviously had a lot of use during this last year or so, and to just really get all the infrastructure on site, as top notch as we can do.
Now, to find out more about it, I know there's lots of social media angles, and I think we can put some of those up on screen as well, and just remind people. But also, I think, is it worsbrough-mill.com, where people can come and find out a lot more information about what's happening here?
Yeah, so that's the official website for Worsbrough Mill. That's a great place to start to have a look at. Worsbrough Mill's also on Facebook, on Twitter. The mill itself is on Instagram as well. So any of those platforms, there'll be loads of information signposted and loads of links to all the different content that's going to be produced as part of our Wild at Worsbrough programme.
And I know, and I think as your colleague was telling us in the video clip when Liane mentioned it, this isn't just about birds, is it? I mean, you've got the mice, which is a kind of a protected species down here, and or certainly a kind of revered species that's been trying to be more protected. And then we've got everything from the plant life to the pond life. I think there's even a bats walk as well that's coming up. So, stay with us, folks, because we're going to get more involved, and there's going to be lots more of these live streams as well. But the best thing is to come down and experience it for yourselves.
Absolutely. Like we said, there's loads of walks around site. It's brilliant. And yet, the different species you've mentioned, Worsborough's actually got some fantastic reed bed habitats, which we've been working to take care of. And that's what harvest mice love. There's loads throughout the site, and we're really trying to look after them. And yet, just generally walking around, as well as the wet woodland we spoke about. There's beautiful meadows as well, so as they're going to be coming into bloom as we head into the summer. So throughout the seasons and carrying on these next few months, there'll be so many things to see.
Now, if you're watching this, folks, I just want to say God bless you for getting up so early and watching it. You might be watching this on playback as well, because it will be available on demand afterwards. But in the comments, if you could just tell us where you're watching from and what you thought about today and what you thought about what we're trying to do here, trying to do something quite different, and bring you the outdoors indoors if you're lying in bed, which is probably the sensible thing to do. But we've been up, we've enjoyed it. It's been great. We've seen the sun come up and listen to this beautiful sound down here. But this isn't just today, this is every day, and people can come down to Worsbrough and all these fantastic Barnsley museums locations. We've got Cannon Hall, there's Elkington Heritage Centre. I mean, Barnes is just terrific, isn't it, for what it's got going for it?
We're so lucky. We've got so many fantastic sort of heritage and museum sites, and obviously as we move through these next coming months, that hopefully everything's going to be opening up, and they'll be all ready and waiting to welcome everyone back again.
And it needs support as well, Sally. I mean, we talk about obviously the Barnsley Museums and Heritage Trusts that depend heavily on financial help. So if you've enjoyed and liked today, just jump on, hit that button and just make a little donation. It goes a long way, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Every little definitely helps. And like I said, we've been really lucky to get some funding from the National Lottery Heritage Fund, but all those donations, any amount that anyone can spare really, really does help, because it does take a lot of work to look after these sites and maintain them. They're huge both in area, they're really varied, so they've got lots of work that needs carrying out. So really, any donation does definitely help.
All right, Sally. Well, listen, thank you ever so much for that. Thanks for your time this morning. Thanks for getting up super early. And you had the key to let us in as well, so thank you. So, I'm going to actually, we've had Liane on the video, but I'm going to drag her on in front of camera because she's not going to come down here this morning at this time and not actually get a bit of screen time. So can we just swap over? I'll bring her. So thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Next.
Morning.
Morning. Now then, thank you for coming down. It was a lovely piece of video that we've played earlier. And I think you've said a lot in terms of what you wanted to say there, but just reflect on this morning, would you? And just tell us how special this has been.
Well, you know, what's not to love? You know, in my video I did talk about just being in nature, and I think this morning's proved you can just sit and listen to this sound, the sound of nature. It's the sound of life, isn't it? It's the sound of, you know, life starting because it's the breeding season. And that's why the birds are in their full glory, full voice, full costume, if you like. And, you know, you might have got up to listen to us today. You might watch the video later, all nice and toasty warm, which hopefully we will be by the time you watch this video. But just, why not just go out now, because there'll still be birds around, and have a listen. If not, tomorrow, set your alarm 10 minutes early.
Do you know what? Just open your windows. And just let it flood in, because it's beautiful, isn't it? And it's quite poetic. I mean, we've had Ian McMillan this morning, and if you're joining this late, folks, you can watch this back on demand. But watch for Ian's poem. It was absolutely beautiful about dawn chorus, and it was a real special twist on it. And it was looking in the COVID environment as well, and it was a sense of hope. And you've just said today it's been a little bit like a new life and a new start. Yeah. And it gives you hope, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does. Birds are full of hope, aren't they? They come back year after year, brush the feathers down, and just start again. Beautiful cycle of life, and this is the soundtrack to that.
It is. It's been absolutely fantastic. So listen, thank you for joining us. Is there anything else you just want to mention about the special work that's happening down here, or anything particular? I mean, I know that you said a lot of it in the video.
Yeah, well, we're just looking forward to welcoming people as they come out more in groups now, as the weather's getting better. I mean, respect the countryside, respect the parks, respect where you are, but come and enjoy it. It's the most glorious place. Just, have fun.
All right then. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank
That's
you.
Wonderful.
Back to bed now.
Yeah. So, folks, you know what? This has been absolutely terrific. We did come down here to listen to the bird sound. I get a feeling that you've probably heard a little bit too much of me. I want to end with a little bit more of the bird sound, but I've got one more guest to bring back who can tell us a little bit more about what's happening at this time of day. So if I can find Geoff. Is Geoff around? Here we go, Geoff. He's still around.
Still here, right. Here we go.
So right. Geoff, we're just gonna finish off now, I think, by listening a little bit more to the bird sound.
Yeah.
But tell us what's happening at this time of day. It still seems quite loud to me.
It is. There's still birds singing, there's a wren singing behind, there's a robin straight above. And while we've been on here doing other bits, there's chiff chaff and willow warbler. And willow warbler's a good one, it's a migrant bird. In fact, just it's further back there, you just catch some slight song of it. They're from East Africa, so they've come a long way. Yeah.
And will they come back every year then?
Every year, yeah.
And that's the breeding season, is it?
Yeah, that's their breeding season. So they're down in East Africa all through our winter, set off that February and get here by end of April, something like that.
I only hope that our viewers can actually hear this as loud as we can. I'm getting, kind of thumbs up from our tech people to say that that's the case. But if we just have a quiet listen then, Geoff, and just you pick out a few of the sounds, and if you could just let us know what we're listening to.
That's a wren just behind us, that churring, which is quite loud for a small bird. It's only little tiny birds weighing 10 grams. And again,
big voice for a little bird.
There's a dunnock hopping about on the path. See, it's not singing, but it's feeding. Wren, robin, just above us again. Song thrush again, tick, 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 further back. Bit of blackbird.
I think I'm getting used to some of these now.
Yeah, you really pick up usual ones. It's more unusual ones, which even catch me out. Great, it's terrible for imitating or do a different call. You think, what the heck's that? there's a robin.
There's a robin in the tree.
Just above the branch here now. They're coming round looking for food because people feed on these posts. They bring
What's
feed
this above
around.
it?
That's great tit. So they've gone through the song, they're protecting their area. So these are birds that's coming from a little bit further around, 200 metres away. No, they're blue tit now. We've got a change over. They're all over here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
It's a bit like
Six
being on,
birds
been on
waiting for food.
safari, this one, Geoff, this morning. What's the kind of birds that you would you'll be doing cartwheels about if you saw it down here? I mean, there are certain.
We were hoping because just a few metres here is the river, comes from Rockley Dyke, comes underneath here and goes out into the res. And not many, probably only a week, 2 weeks ago, with kingfisher on this river.
Kingfisher down here,
Yeah. So kingfisher on here, and we're hoping it, not really a song, but yeah, this peep 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 call, you know. We're hoping we might pick that up, but having asked other people, there's not been about for maybe a week. They've probably gone down river and they breed just below the mill. So if people are kind of over the bridge just by the mill, people are coming down looking for birds and stop on the bridge and look either way. Sometimes you get kingfisher here.
Geoff, if people want to get into bird watching, what's the best advice? What can they do? What should they do?
Yeah, there's plenty of programmes, there's stuff on YouTube, but really get a good bird book and probably best thing is probably go down to Old Moor to get more information. Sit in bird hides there and look at what's happening. People get the bird book out, but don't be afraid to ask people. Because there's bird watchers go down there and if you just ask, they'll tell you what's what and help sort out.
And you know what,
about.
we've seen some beautiful video this morning of the country park here in Worsbrough, actually just having a stroll around a place like this.
Yeah.
Coming down to Worsbrough and being part of Wild At Worsbrough is going to be a good start as well for a lot of people, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, right. Yeah, come round here, have a walk round, and as we'll find out in a bit, if we stop long enough, there'll be quite a number of people come round here on a Sunday. Enjoying all these walks, so you can go right around the res, so water birds and stuff like that, and this unique habitat, this Willow-Carr or Willow Marsh woodland that we're in now.
Well, I think we'll just, I think we'll do what we did when we started. We'll just have a little gentle listen to play this out, and then we've got a nice little bit of video at the end of it. So thanks for joining us this morning, folks. And if you did get up specially to watch and not watching this back on demand, God bless you. You know, I mean, it's very, very early. For any of us to be up at this time, apart from Geoff, I think does this most mornings.
Really
and Ian McMillan, of course, who also does his morning stroll. In fact, come to think of it, there's probably only me that would have still been normally in bed at this time. But thank you for joining us. I don't know what you've got planned for the rest of your bank holiday weekend, but have a great rest and recuperation if you need a bit of that. And enjoy the rest of what I think is going to be a beautiful day today. Make the most of it, because I don't think it's going to be too good tomorrow. Get yourself down to Worsbrough. Have a look at Wild at Worsbrough, particularly on the website. I know we've been flashing the website address up there for you to have a look at. But there's going to be lots and lots of things to do, not just here in Worsbrough, but around Barnsley and South Yorkshire generally. But you know what? We're in Worsbrough, we're supporting it, and thank you to everybody for making this very hospitable for us today as well. We've had a great time. So we'll go quiet, we'll have a little listen, and then we'll play out with some video.
Willow warbler's closer now. It's in that tree, large tree, the one that's up from East Africa. Yeah, that's all.
Because you're talking about the chicken.